Hi guys. Um, Put video on myself. People like to see who they're looking at YouTube. So unfortunately, I'm just wearing a tank top, so crop the picture. Um, in the previous video where you import big bundles, I found a way to do that by cutting the model inside Fusion 360, and you can rejoin the models. But um, I also made another video I haven't put out. It was over 1 hour long, a lot of waiting times and discussions and stuff. I just decided to scrap that because I just kept getting errors and it just wasn't a good video for YouTube. But this one will probably be better. I decided to make it like a part 2 of the previous video because I found an easier way to get huge models into Fusion 360. Now, one big problem with the models I split inside Fusion 360 is that where you split it, you don't get the faces. It will just be openings, and that is, I think, a big part of the problem when you want to sort of rejoin them. So what I decided to do instead was to try and see if I can split uh, the models. Actually, to be honest, I actually did it the other way. I tried to do it better way before I did it the wrong way. So I wanted to sort of see if I could import the splitted version into Fusion with the surfaces, and the best way to do that would have been to split it up in, for instance, Orca Slicer, which I'm using here. What Orca Slicer do when you slice is that you can select a cut plane, like here I could slice it like in the middle, and after that you have the option to right click it, and if you click fix model it will try to find all kind of triangles and make surfaces and fix the model if it's bad. But what's interesting is that if you look at the sides here, when Orca Slicer slices it, there is no gaps. It creates the surfaces, and that was part of the big problem with the model inside Fusion. But when you have a model like this, you can right click the model and you can export it as one STL. So my idea was, what if I just do that and try to bring it into Fusion and just realign them together and then just combine them. But again, you you get an error, several errors. Um, Imagine that uh, uh, when you slice the model, it's actually not what's happening. But imagine that you're slicing the model inside, um, or you're splitting the model inside of Orca Slicer, but where the split line is, there's actually like 1 pixel or something, and in width. So what happens is when you get that model into Fusion, the edges don't match up. It would be something like that. Or it's like there's supposed to be something there, and when you try to merge them, the edges don't match anymore. So that's what I found out. But there is a better solution, which is actually really really strange but ingenious at the same time. Let me see. What I found was actually the easiest way to do this. I'll just bring this over here so you can see the picture there. So this is my Orca Slicer. And what you can do is you can take that whole model that you had. In this case, it was the spooler, which is a massive model. You have to admit it. This is my bamboo printer. This is a massive model. It has tens of thousands of triangles. And just for cleanness, I'm just going to remove the tower. Now, ideally, you would want to right-click the model and select Fix Model. And Orca Slicer will try to fix this model for print. What this does is, if it finds like an open surface, but the wireframe model says that it should be a closed surface, it will try to compensate for that and close the surface. So you're sort of simplifying the model a bit. But again, you can also simplify the model, and if you want as much detail as possible, you can show the wireframe as well. This is the same wireframe as inside Fusion. You can make the model simpler, like extremely low. Then you don't get good curves, or you can just leave it as extra high, which is basically it will try to make it as close to the original as possible. And in most cases like this, it is pretty damn close. So just click apply to that, and then you can just do a fixed model again, just to make sure nothing bad happened to that. Now what I found is that when you now take that STL and you export it as an STL, you can just call it Weiner spool body new STL, for instance. Test, I can just call it test and separate it. There. When you now export that STL with Orca Slicer, um, I have no idea why, if there is less triangles or whatever, but even if you import the original model after having had it inside of Fusion, inside of Orca Slicer, and you just save it again as an STL without doing anything, that model is suddenly possible to import as a whole into Fusion 360, and I'll show you now. I'll just start Fusion 360. Give me a sec. There's Fusion 360, and I'll just make this editable like that. Okay, so I can edit this, and first I will just show you. I will just show you this. So insert a mesh, and then let's see, where is it? Test. That's the one. So now you get the whole mesh in. It's still the same size. You can just move to ground, center, move to ground. Yeah, okay, like that. First thing you do is you go to the mesh, and then you select prepare faces. Okay, just select fast, accurate. You can do accurate here. It's not a problem. Usually creating the faces is not what's taking time. Have to remember the thing that usually happens here is that it crashes when you use the original STL file. But for some reason the STL file made with Orca Slicer, which is slicer designed to make things look good when you print, is better at saving the STLs, it seems. So let's just wait a little bit. I think it should still be okay, even though it's set to accurate. Shouldn't take too long. I'll just pause the recording so that you don't have to wait when watching. Looks like it's finishing up now. For reference, that took about 1 minute after I paused the recording. So come on. There. So now I created the faces. I'll just save that. You never know when stuff crashes. There. Document limit reached. But that's fine. No problem. So that is the faces generated. Now, if you did this with the original model and you did the next step, which is modify, under the mesh you go modify and convert mesh, this would cause Fusion to crash with a model like this. Every single time, it just wouldn't be able to do it. I don't know if the paid version is better for this. I haven't tried because I don't have it. Could be. As you can see on the illustration, the paid version would do a much better conversion. So there could be a limitation from the creators, but yeah. So I'll just try and convert that now. Select it. And we'll see how long it takes, because this shouldn't crash now. It may take a little while, but it should not crash. You see, it's already working down here. That never happened before. And see, it's finished. So this is a solid body. It is not a mesh anymore. You can see here. It's a solid body, and it shouldn't really have any defects. So you can probably go and like do all kinds of stuff, like removing the unnecessary triangles, like here. Yeah. Anyway, you get the idea now. Um, it may work with other slicers as well. I do not know, but at least for my test, I use Orca Slicer, and basically bringing this STL file or step file or whatever into the Orca Slicer, and then doing a fix or a simplify on the model, which sort of rearranges the wireframe that makes up the faces, and then just saving it back as an STL file seems to make it possible to import big models as well. It may not be as accurate as the original STL file, but it could, if you just like me, you just want something to like use as a template for the sizes and areas and stuff, then it is really a brilliant way to do it. Or if you just want to write, like you want to remake the model in Fusion 360 because you just want to like try or whatever, then it's a good way to do it. So that is the end of my part 2 of how to import a massive model into Fusion 360. In the first video I said you can split it inside, but you may get some errors. But if the model is simple enough, it could also work that way. But I think I would recommend the Orca Slicer way better, because it's a lot less hassle. So if you like my video, like and maybe subscribe for more content, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.